It is a reaction Monday that none of us expected. Alabama losing to Florida State. We're here taking your phone calls at 1-800-239-WJOX, the courtesy GMC text line 205-834-9450. Those watching on YouTube, welcome to the program. I understand that we have record numbers today. That goes without saying because so many people around the country, they like to dance on the grave of Alabama football, and that apparently is what a lot of people in the Big Ten are doing today.
Yes, they are. We kind of made light about Florida State, and their hope was that their team would play hard for 4 quarters.
Not one single Florida State writer, no one that covers Florida State picked Florida State to beat Alabama.
No.
So this is not just like, oh, you Alabama homers. Nobody.
We tried to tell y'all.
Lee Corso is the only person, and it was his alma mater. That's why he picked him. So, okay. All right.
Look, the question is, if Florida State only plays hard for 3 quarters, do they still win that game?
Well, yeah.
I think they do.
They could have mailed it in at halftime, and they still would have won the game. Okay, so many of you have been texting, calling, wanting to know. Conrad ran his mouth a lot, and he's been out of town for like the last 7 days, and so I think he's coming back tomorrow. Not really sure. But anyway, let's go to the phones. Conrad is joining us from, I believe, Destin, Florida, where he and his family are being held captive right now to some Florida State fans. Is he not there? Is he gone?
He's calling in now.
Oh. Okay.
Molly's retrieving him. 800-239-WJOX.
So Alabama, we will hear from Kalen DeBoer coming up at 12 noon. Hugh Freeze will join the program via his weekly teleconference coming up at 11:30. So we will hear from Auburn's head coach after a tremendous win on the road against Baylor. So let's hear from Conrad Van Order, joins us from Destin. Hey, Conrad.
Hey, buddy.
What's up, guys? How we doing?
The question is how you're doing.
How are you?
Yeah, we're fine.
I'm great. I just had a wonderful time at the beach. I didn't get sunburned, had some good food, and got to watch a lot of really fun college football. So yeah, I'm great.
I don't even know where to start with you. All right.
Did you get the face paint already for me, Landrum? Is that ready?
I forgot about the face paint, but I'm glad you reminded me. I will make a trip to the costume store. We will get you face paint.
Okay.
So Molly can
Molly's got that taken care of.
Yeah.
I'll handle that. Don't worry.
All right.
You might just want to go ahead and get me a clown costume while you're at it.
Conrad, for people who did not see your social media post, they have not heard you since the Alabama loss. What's your big takeaways?
The big takeaways, it really overall was just really, really bad. It was really disappointing. I think, one of the hardest parts about it, right, is, there's so much optimism coming out of Tuscaloosa going into the season and everything from fall camp. And then, you get out there on Saturday, you have that great first drive to start off, and it looks like everything's going to be, it's going to be a go from there. And Alabama looks pretty sharp. And then it looks like they completely fell apart and they didn't look prepared. The coaching was horrendous. I mean, there's so few things to point out that you could say, Jeremy Bernard had a good game. I thought Ty Simpson showed some good things, but other times he looked terrified. But when you've got guys in the secondary that are just jogging in the middle of a play in the first quarter, it doesn't look like there's any sense of urgency from the team. It doesn't look like anybody's fired up. They were, talking about how they were going to handle all the disrespect on the field. And that didn't look like a team that was motivated to do anything to me on Saturday. So it was rough to watch, and there's a lot to improve upon. But I think at the end of the day, you have to point your fingers at the coaching staff because they didn't have those guys ready to go. And that's unacceptable in the first game of a season nonetheless.
Conrad, to me, and I don't know if you agree, but to me, watching that game, Florida State looked like they had the most dynamic player on the field, the most athletic player on the field, and their quarterback. But overall, they looked like they had more athletes than Alabama. I know that's not the case, but that's the way it appeared by the way that Alabama played.
Well, look at how, Earl Little out there, look at what he did throughout that entire game. He was thumping people left and right. and you didn't have any sort of sense of that from Alabama, anything close to that. But yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. I thought Castellanos talked a lot of crap, and he backed it up though. He looked excellent. Gus looked like he was firing on all cylinders, and he looked like a coach that had been putting together a game plan for this opportunity for months. And for whatever reason, the Alabama coaching staff just wasn't able to do that. And a lot of it, I mean, it felt like, has Kane Womack ever seen Gus Malzahn coach football? Like, we know he obviously has, but, you're just sitting there watching it and going, how did you not prepare for these things? How do the players look so clueless out there? It was shocking. But yeah, no, I mean, Florida State was the better team. They looked faster. They looked more aggressive. They looked like they, were better coached. And yeah, there's no answer for that.
All right, so where does Alabama go from here? I know it was a disappointing loss. You still have 11 games left on the schedule. Are you adjusting where you think this Alabama football team will be at the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, right now, definitely don't look like a playoff team. I think you have to very, seriously consider now. Obviously, yeah, they're probably going to go and look, much better against ULM this week, and we'll kind of go from there. But right now, I mean, there's really no reason. I don't think you can be super confident about any SEC game on the schedule this year. The ones that going into the season you felt good about, like, okay, maybe Vanderbilt because that's going to be a revenge game. Well, we clearly saw that, a lot of the type of offense and things that they wanted to do last year and had success with, Alabama still can't stop that this year. I mean, Missouri looked excellent. I thought Pribula looked really, really good. I don't think that's an easy one. Tennessee looked really good offensively as well. Auburn looked great, of course, with Jackson Arnold, especially in what he can do running the football. So, I honestly just, you go down the list, and I mean, they're going to win some of them, but I don't think you can be super confident right now that Alabama is going to go to the playoff. And that looked like a 7-5 or 8-4 football team on Saturday.
Okay, that was my question: is where's the ceiling now in regards to this Alabama football team? And you said as of this moment, you're looking at 7 or 8, in your opinion.
I mean, if that's the effort you're going to get, if that's the team that's going to roll out on the field every Saturday, then yeah, I think that is. Now, can they get better? Absolutely. They have a lot of talent. I think a lot of the things that you thought going into the year, those things could still happen. It's just they are going to have to do a complete 180, and we'll have to see that to believe that. I don't know what you would have out there, what evidence would be out there to make you think that's going to happen right now, because it's not the old Alabama. This isn't a Nick Saban-led team to where you could have that faith. And then being able to have that kind of a turnaround. So, yeah, I think right now I would probably have Alabama at 8-4, and that can obviously change. But that was, it was a poor effort on Saturday, and there are just so many things that have to be better.
War Chant Wednesday is what we're going to call it. That will give us an extra day because today is Labor Day for me to gather the supplies from Molly to adorn your face and your head.
I think it's more than his face and head.
You think so?
Now, based on,
okay.
Molly's got a plan.
All right.
So we'll handle that. All right. Before we let you go, Conrad, anything else you'd like to say to the Crimson Nation?
I mean, just like if you saw the video, the last thing is, again, just everything that you heard coming out of Tuscaloosa. I was wrong. We were all wrong. Everybody that, told you that Alabama was going to be good and that they were a national championship contender, whether we were just blind to it or we were being fed false information or, whatever it is, it's a great team at practice, but they don't know what to do when the lights turn on. We were wrong. I was wrong. Alabama did not deliver a can of whoop-ass to Tallahassee. Florida State had that ready for them when they got off the bus, I guess. So, yeah, it was just disappointing. And I know a lot of people are going to be frustrated out there, but it's a long season. And hopefully there's things to be more optimistic about this next Saturday. But, yeah, that was about as ugly as it's been for me as an Alabama fan during my life.
All right, well, tell Paige we said hello and thank you for taking care of you.
I will do that. Thanks for giving me a few minutes. I'll see y'all tomorrow.
All right, buddy. Safe travels.
All right.
I think he should have started off with an apology. Giving some of these Alabama fans a false sense of confidence with how boldly he proclaimed that Alabama was going to win before he left on Thursday. This is actually what it sounded like before Conrad left.
You're just making friends everywhere.
I love Dave, but I'm ready for him to be shut up on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's got a big old can of whoop ass coming to Tallahassee, and everyone knows it, and people are trying to convince themselves that it's not going to happen. No.
Wait, you just said a big old can of whoop ass is coming to Tallahassee? Is that what you just said?
Yep. From Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
If this goes wrong on Saturday for him,
No, that's good. You're feeling really confident.
I don't know if
I
I've
am
ever
feeling
seen.
very confident.
I don't think I've ever seen, working with Conrad all these years, I've never seen him as confident in a prediction than this one.
Oh, he just planted the flag right there at the 50. Well, make statements like that. You got to pay the piper. We'll continue. Your phone calls, your text here on this Reaction Monday, the Labor Day edition of Three Man Front on Jox.
Still have a full bank of phone calls. We're going to get to as many of those coming up next. You know, Abide Roofing, they are here to help the homeowner. What do I mean by that? Because they offer you a free, no-pressure roof inspection. They want to make sure your home is safe. A couple of years ago, I needed Travis Lloyd and his local roofing team at Abide to get on my roof because I couldn't see what was going on from the ground. So he got up on my roof and realized that I had some big issues. Not only did I have some loose shingles, I held whole sections of my roof that was going to need to be replaced. So call my insurance company. They sent an adjuster out. And guess what Travis did? Travis came and he met for 2+ hours with my insurance company on my roof. Who else does that? I can tell you Abide Roofing, they do it. You need to call them at 205-941-6223. He was my representative with my insurance company, and he was able to obviously show the issues. He was advocate for me, and I got my roof replaced thanks to Travis Lloyd and, of course, him dealing with my insurance company. And, all these storms that we have, and if there's trees down around your house or on your property, they can actually remove those trees for you. So Abide Roofing, they've got your back all the way around. So call them, 205-941-6223. Go to their website if you're looking for more detailed information. That's abideroof.com, 205-941-6223. Get your free, no-pressure roof inspection today.
A lot of your texts, a lot of your reaction. We're going to get to as many phone calls, as many texts as we can. Back to the phone lines. Let's go to Kerry. He's in Aniana. Kerry?
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Doing okay, Kerry. How are you?
I'm all right. This loss doesn't feel just like a good, close loss. It feels like a complete culture change is taking place. I don't understand the number of players that we substituted in and out on defense. I mean, and everybody says, well, they're good players too. Well, if your number 3 players are as good as your number 1, then your number 1s are not good enough. And the first big play of the game, we had a backup and a freshman on the field when Squirrel White caught that ball. I don't understand. You need to have your starters in there gelling together as a unit. I don't understand their philosophy on defense, but, we put one of our best receivers in the slot to get killed over the middle of the field. One of the fastest players we have that's great on the outside, we put him in the slot. We had a decent first drive, 55 yards rushing the first drive, and then we have 32 the rest of the game. I just think it's a culture problem with the players. They're very lax. Carrying stuffed animals into the stadium. I mean, I think that they need to get control of the program and be a lot more strict on the players. And, we had our tackles. Both our tackles seemed like they were getting blown up off the ball, our offensive tackles. And we have no emotions out of our coaches. I just think we got a lot of problems on the team that's going to have to be handled.
Well, it's interesting that you brought up Ryan Williams because I did see that same video or picture of him walking into Doak Campbell Stadium carrying a stuffed animal. And he's now gone 10 straight games in which he has not received over 100 yards. I mean, that's right. I mean, that for a guy that calls himself Hollywood, and you can't get 100 yards receiving in the last 10 games. I mean, that's a huge warning signal to me.
Well, you could obviously tell that he was not comfortable in that position. He was rattled, and he dropped, 3 or 4 passes over the middle? I mean, I think we have to put our best players in positions that they're comfortable, that they can succeed at. And why we moved him around, I don't know. But there's a lot of things that I don't understand. Just as a fan watching the game, but I'm hoping that we get some more ambition and some more drive and desire to play because they didn't have it Saturday.
Good stuff, Kerry. Thank you very much for the phone call. I wonder, and not knowing what exactly Kane Womack, what the thinking was there, talking about a freshman getting burned, but. And I don't know this to be the case, but I do go back to this age of college football, the transfer portal, NIL, and the days of Kirby and Nick Saban having multiple guys that could start on any single roster in the country at any given time, coming in as a second string guy and having that depth. Not saying that guy that gets beat can't be a 5-star or 4-star, but inexperience and not having some of that experience depth that you can go to in those situations. And I just wonder if that, in that particular case, maybe that led into it. Still no excuse. Guy still made the play. You had a timeout to talk about it. You knew on 3rd and 11 they were going to probably try to go for broke. And you let Squirrel White get lost down the near sideline. We'll continue with your phone calls. Let's go to Ron. Ron's in Huntsville. Ron, welcome into 3-Man Front.
How y'all doing this morning?
We're doing all right. How are you?
I'm trying to keep my head up. You know how it is.
Yes, sir.
I want to see my condolences out to Leroy Jordan and Bill Battle. I'm sending their family out to condolence. But, I think Kevin DeBoer don't have no touch. They don't have no – he's too soft. They got a lot of friction between the coaching staff. You mark my word, Ryan Williams, after the season, he will be transferred somewhere else. He won't be at Alabama.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm not being a smart aleck. I'm being honest. Would anybody miss Ryan Williams if he left?
No, he wasn't nobody missing.
I mean, again, he's gone 10 games without getting 100 yards receiving. I mean, for a guy that's probably making more NIL money than anybody on that roster, and this is a business, right? I mean, and if you're paying a player millions of dollars or whatever their NIL valuation is, and you're not delivering, then cut him, let him go, let him walk.
Yeah. And the sense of humor is, I think they have a lot of fiction between the coaching staff down there. They don't know what's going on. Since Ryan Grubb come down, they're more or less running the same plays. Offensive line can't block. They're running the same plays as they did last year. But I figure Alabama's going to wind up finishing probably 7-5 for the season. And I don't think, athletic director Greg Burns and the board of trustees need to get together and have a meeting sometime this week and get a plan in case Kevin DeBoer can't win, But it's a sad situation.
No, it is. Well, we appreciate the phone call. Thank you so much. And again, just a reminder, folks, he has $77 million left on his contract. And per his contract language, unless you fire him for cause, it is going to cost you 90% of the remainder of his contract, which equates to $69.3 million. He would be paid in monthly installments. Alabama cannot afford to pay that, period. This is not a gray area. Not unless somebody hits one of those super Powerball numbers.
That was Jimbo money at one time, buyout in
of
College
Texas
State,
A&M.
Texas A&M, and they weren't willing to pay. Well, they ended up paying a lot, but not where it was.
Alabama, I mean, for an athletic department that Greg Byrne reminds everybody that there is not Fort Knox underneath Coleman Coliseum, like they just can't print money, and they're asking people for money left and right for NIL. They cannot. But somebody tweeted in the show, and I will give them credit. And this is a Pat Ponders like question. Is it worth $69.3 million to admit that you made a mistake and you move on, or does Alabama continue to be in the wilderness for the next 4 or 5 years? So, like, what is that worth to you and to the fan base and to the monetary marketing of the University of Alabama? Some people will say that it's worth the money to find it, pay him off, and move on.
And how many more losses does it take for Greg Byrne to be convinced that maybe this is just not the right guy?
It's an excellent question.
That's the answer to the question.
Yeah.
Where is that threshold for Greg Byrne and some of those people that I'm sure have been
and
in
you
his
just
ear
got
all
beat
weekend?
by the guy that it was going to be between Kalen DeBoer and Mike Norvell. Because once Sarkisian used the leverage to get a new deal at Texas, but again, Kalen DeBoer was someone that, once again, Landrum and I heard mid-season, that was the guy. But then when the Kalen DeBoer conversation started, obviously Mike Norvell was also someone that was going to be used probably as their backup choice. And then you just got schooled by the guy that was a distant second in the running to be your next head coach.
And this does not change. I opened the show with it. This doesn't change my opinion that Kalen DeBoer is a really good football coach. It doesn't. But if we're talking about greatness and returning to greatness and the likes of Nick Saban and that standard and that consistency that you saw, I think coupled with now this day in college football, but I've seen 14 games from Kalen DeBoer. Can't pinpoint anything. We've seen a lot. But what I can tell you is I have now gone to the flip side, if it was a two-sided coin, to the other side of the coin where I just don't believe, based on what I've seen so far, that Kalen DeBoer will be a great coach at the University of Alabama.
And here's the other thing. I know some people will say, well, this is Brian Harsin all over again. Here's the difference between Brian Harsin and Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer played for a national championship. Also, Kalen DeBoer has been an excellent recruiter. Brian Harsin never recruited a lick. He didn't care. He didn't have those relationships.
No, there's no comparison with those two guys.
No, I mean, Courtney Morgan and what Kalen DeBoer has been able to do recruiting has been extremely impressive. The problem is, it's like covering Mark Gottfried, who was the Alabama basketball coach. Mark Gottfried brought a lot of great talent to Tuscaloosa. But for whatever reason, he could not convert that except for that 1 year that he got to the Elite Eight. He was never to convert that into a solid winning program every single year that had people in the SEC scared of Alabama basketball. Well, Kalen DeBoer is putting a lot of people in that locker room, but for whatever reason, he is not using his coaching ability or his assistant coaches to get the best out of the kids they're bringing there. And if you can't do it nowadays, you got a big time problem. We're going to go ahead and run to break. When we come back, we're going to listen to a coach who's got his team heading in the right direction. And that's Hugh Freeze, because the Auburn Tigers, big win against the Baylor Bears on Friday night. And there's a lot of optimism about the ceiling for this Auburn football team in 2025. We'll hear from Coach Hugh Freeze next. We'll be going down to Auburn, Alabama momentarily. And at the top of the hour, we will hear from Kalen DeBoer. We'll see if he has changed his tune at all after the upset loss to Florida State, in which his team was a 13.5-point favorite against the Seminoles.
It is worth mentioning that we saw a first for Kalen DeBoer on the sideline, and maybe that was the kiss of death ultimately. He finally caved. He gave in to all the pressure, and he wore the collared shirt. My vote is to go back to a hoodie or some kind of compression shirt.
So he's 0-1.
You got to burn that shirt.
He's 0-1 wearing a collared shirt.
Yep. A lot of text, a lot of entertaining text coming in. 205-834-9450.
Yeah, we are waiting for Hugh Freeze to come to the podium. His Auburn Tigers, 38 points on the road. That was extremely impressive. And when you look at that, the 38 points at Baylor are the team's most in a non-conference road game since they beat Florida State back in 1984 in Tallahassee. You remember that game?
Yep.
That was always a fun series between Auburn and Florida State.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. What you got from Auburn's running game, I think that Auburn fans can be encouraged that Hugh Freeze, they had success running the football.
Mm-hmm.
They had long, sustained drives. Ultimately, you get the stop when Baylor has a chance to go up 10-0. They're inside, the 5-yard line. You get the stop. You march it down 96 yards. You respond that way. You had another sustained drive where you had a 75-yard drive that ate up a lot of clock. Assistants, whoever, Hugh Freeze learning from last year, taking care of the football, go with what the defense is giving you. They obviously were not going to let Auburn beat them deep, and Jackson Arnold carved them up and enjoyed doing it. Not like he was running for his life. I know that you had several times that either RG3's talking about that, running for his life. No, it looked like Jackson Arnold was completely confident and looking forward to running every single time.
All right, I think Hugh Freeze is coming to the podium, so we will now head down to Auburn, Alabama, and hear Hugh Freeze in Auburn.
It's obviously you always celebrate when you can go on the road and get a win. And it's hard to win games, and period, and particularly against a good football team. And there were a lot of good things and a lot of things we can improve and be better upon. We just had our truth meeting this morning and went through it with the team, and then our theme for this week. And I thought our defensive line controlled the line of scrimmage, and without that, we could have been in for a long night, because they really did throw it and catch it well on us, and impressed with their quarterback and their receiving core, but we didn't play with the fundamentals that I've seen us be able to do in camp. So we've got to figure out exactly why. And I think both DJ and I would say we probably didn't have them quite as prepared as we should physically, and we just didn't look as fresh as I've seen us. So I thought our D-line controlled it. Obviously, 2 big fourth down stops were huge, and then special teams-wise, huge play in the kickoff return. Too many penalties that we got a great kill punt down on the 6-yard line and have to repunt that, and then the 15-yarder is kind of he just lost his footing, and that was kind of a freak thing there, but had too many penalties, 9 for sure, two third down and a fourth down conversion for defensive penalties, and offensively was pretty clean other than 2 false starts and the holding penalty on Perry, which I thought he was doing a great job with the technique we teach. And but I thought both our lines controlled the line of scrimmage, which you can win a lot of games when you're rushing for 7 yards an attempt. And we're thrilled to get the win. On to the next one. That one goes in the trash, and the goal is to be 1-0 this week. We get to come to the 16th straight sellout at Jordan-Hare, which our fans were incredible in Waco, along with our band and cheerleaders and people that traveled there. And but it's nothing like playing at home, and we've got to have an edge about us when we get to play here that it's a special opportunity. And I know this weekend is the Pat Dye Players Reunion, and be good to see all those guys back here. And we're thrilled to be kicking things off at home and finding a way, hopefully, to get better this week.
Jacob Goins, ESPN 106.7. And Auburn, Jackson clearly showed the legs and the ability to run the football. Moving forward, is that going to be something you build into the offense more with the success you saw in week 1?
Totally depends what's needed to win. That's always been my philosophy of offensive football is, what is it for this game that is going to help us win the football game? And if that's needed and that's what the game calls for, I think he's very capable and willing to do that. So it's all about, the flow of the game and how that's going. And, some of those were called runs. Some were obviously him pulling it down and using his legs. And, we'll go into every game being willing to do that for sure.
You noticed Darian Smith only played 8 snaps, but he was down for 2 pressures, and you guys rotated a lot up there, just especially with the pass rush. How much did you like seeing, especially some of those young guys getting in there and making an impact in the game? Yeah,
we played 28 kids on defense, and I think the front was the reason we won the football game, really. And we probably should have played him more. His production. Now he was fresh, but his production at the end, he was a factor. He was harassing the quarterback pretty well, and so I thought he made the most of his opportunities, which ultimately should lead to hopefully more opportunities. Now, every game's a little different too. I mean, he's probably not. Is he ready for the point of attack against the run game against every team? Maybe, maybe not. So we have to, factor all of those things in. But I do think in that game he proved he probably could have played more.
I don't know if it's fair to say, but it looked like Horatio in the fourth quarter on that drive missed a block, and the next play he comes up with a key catch and bulls ahead there for the first down on 3rd down. What does it just say about him that he's able to bounce back from maybe a not a positive play to having an important play in the game? Yeah,
he definitely didn't understand the leverage of that play on the block. That's the deal about perimeter blocking is you have to understand where is the ball going to be when I'm at the point of attack. It's one thing if it's handed off back there, he would have been in good position. But when you're throwing a swing, that's a totally different deal. And we've got to do a better job coaching the perimeter blocking on understanding where is the ball being delivered. And so he did, that could have been a very positive play there had he had the right leverage. But to see him bounce back, and that was a tight coverage window too. The throw was great on time, but him winning at the top end of that route was big time. And then finishing it with a 2-yard carry to get it past the chains. I don't know if we can. That was a big play in the game at that point, at that moment of time.
Coach, Damari and Jeremiah combined for over 150 yards. Your thoughts on what you got out of your running backs?
Yeah, just great to see them. They've waited their time and been developed, and it's good to see them have success in their first real outing where it's theirs. And so hopefully they can build upon that. We'll need them both and plus more. Damari got a little banged up shoulder in the game, so we'll see how he is this week, but if you run the ball that number of times, they're going to take some beatings, and we've got to make sure that we get the others ready also. But really happy for Damari and Jeremiah.
Hugh, you mentioned after the game maybe the defense was a little more tired than you expected in those conversations with DJ that you've had. Did he reciprocate that? And then what are y'all looking to see this week?
Yeah, we had a long talk yesterday with Coach Dom, myself, DJ, and the defensive staff trying to figure out how to process what we felt. And feelings can be misleading at times, and you don't want to make too much of that. Obviously, we found a way to win the football game, but did we feel like we were crisp and fresh? I get making mistakes, and you miss some tackles in week one usually. However, I thought we tackled really well in the live scrimmages, the two we had. But it just, whether or not it was it was 140 degrees when we got there, and our emotions on defense were an emotional group probably, and that adds to the drain. And then give Baylor credit, they hit us in the mouth pretty early, and I don't know if it was just a combination of all of that, but it just seemed like we weren't fresh and crisp, and even at the when we get a fourth down stop to win the game, there's very little emotion or celebration, and it's almost like relief. And so I think we were I don't know if we pushed too hard during the week. We looked at all the load counts on all of the bodies, and to try to figure out, were we not fresh enough going into it, and we'll try to make changes on whatever we process that to be with Dom's help, nutrition help, and DJ's and the practice format and stuff. But there were still some good things. Our D-line crushed the pocket in the run game. They only had really 2 decent runs. But the back end, we did not play with great technique or eyes, or we just didn't play like I've seen us play. So that's the good thing, is I know we can get better.
All right, question specifically about safeties. It seemed like your quarterbacks, I thought, played decently, but safety was having a hard time. Was there anything specific to that position that was just frustrating in particular?
Yeah, giving up. Like on the explosive play, it's almost like the one right before half that, we kind of busted a coverage. Not kind of, we did. I've seen them do that 100 times in camp and execute it beautifully. And obviously that coverage is based upon pressure getting to the quarterback and the ball coming out fast, which it did. But we're just flat-footed, and I don't know, like I haven't seen, and it's very difficult to explain. And we just gotta obviously own what's on the film. It's us that coached it and us that executed it. And so where I know they can show me they've done it right a bunch, we didn't do it right when it counted the most. And I don't know if they're so used to the rush getting there faster and them not having to be in a back pedal and play your midpoints exactly right, where you can play that vertical ball. But the rush, they did a good job of. It was getting there, but maybe they're used to getting there quicker in practice. But we definitely didn't tackle well there, didn't play with the right leverage on the ball, and didn't understand a couple of times where our help was, and got beat on inside routes by number 1 a bunch. Now, I think DJ and we'd be the first to say we didn't have the greatest plan for him. We probably should have played, more dime and bracketed him some.
Hugh, how valuable is a game under the belt for an offensive line group that had not played together? How valuable is that? And then what did you see out of them as a whole after going back and watching it? Yeah,
one of the better performances in a long time. The guy that I'd really like to point out is Tutal. I thought he, in a world where it's hard not to be about me. This guy's a guy that started 30-something games for us, or started 30 games or so. And it's now, quote, not starting. If there's ever a reason to powder, he would be at the top of the line, but he doesn't. And when he came in, he gave us a spark. Those drives when he was in there, he was moving people. But I thought it was the communication for being on the road. It wasn't a crazy loud stadium, and obviously very disappointing we couldn't use all our cadences. We bailed on that after the 2 penalties, and that's got to change. We've got to figure that out. But outside of that, I thought our O-line played extremely well. We got one pressure, but we didn't set it the right way from the quarterback position, which is really falls on our offensive staff to get it set the right way. It was the first time they brought field smash and got us there. But outside of that, I thought our O-line played about as well as we have.
Hugh, these kinds of games, everything players say is they're 40-something point favorite and they can't lose. How do you approach that and convince them that it's important that they play well again?
Well, you hope you don't have to. You hope that the focus is on us and not a given opponent. And it's on us getting better from last week, which there's a lot on the film we can, and we don't have to search for it. It's there. And so if the leadership of the team truly wants to have a year that we look back on and are pleased with, there's zero chance of that happening without us understanding the task at hand is to better ourselves from week 1 to week 2. It doesn't matter who the opponent is or what people say. Or I've had a lot of those, and you get in as a dogfight because you didn't have that mentality. So I hope we're at a point now in year 3 where we have some leaders that understand this is not about anybody other than Auburn and how we should improve this week, irregardless of who we're playing.
Amara seemed like he was banged up a little bit towards the end of that game. How's he doing, and is there anybody else who you expect to be limited this week?
Amara's bounced back and got back in, so I think he's fine. Unfortunately, Champ suffered a broken thumb that will require surgery, so he will miss some time. And Damari's shoulder is questionable. I think that's, there's a lot of bumps and bruises, but I think that's the two that will be, Champ will be out. Damari is questionable.
You talked about the defensive front in the secondary. Talk about the linebackers. Couldn't help but notice Xavier and Robert 17 and 0 a lot, but how was the overall linebacker?
Good against the run, not so good against the pass in technique and drops. And man, if you're supposed to be on the hash, drop or be on the hash. We've got to improve those aspects of it. But there were some good things and then some things we've got to improve on.
Go Johnny in the back and then Mike. We'll cycle back there.
Past years with Peyton's performances, you've kind of gone back and looked at the RPOs and good and bad. I'm just interested, after watching the film, how you would grade Jackson's performance in his first game in your offense.
Very patient. And truthfully, the first thing I tell our kids is how many times I put them in a bad situation. Our offensive staff did. By the way, I thought Nick's and the offensive staff did a really nice job of game planning, first downs, and getting ahead of the chains. And he did a nice job throughout the game of getting us off to a positive drive. But he was really patient. He only had one play where I thought he was careless with the ball, and that was the pressure one. I allowed him I regret it, we had a drive where we were really getting some chunk yards in this 2nd and 4, and allow him to throw an RPO to Malcolm. And, in normal situations, that's fine. But man, the run was another gash. Cobb was going to rip that counter off for a lot of yards, and that's on me. That's not on Joe. I gave him the green light to do it, even though the safeties, they just were not going to attach themselves to the box. They were sitting at 10 yards, and they were not moving. And our normal rule for that is you give the ball, you hand the ball off. I get greedy sometimes, and it's hard when you have the receivers we have to. But you're averaging about 7 yards a gain. You probably need to fight that urge to take the shot there. Particularly in that, I think we would have scored on that drive and made the outcome a little easier. But I thought his decision making, because with their flat-footed, he knows we have guys that could run by them, but the box is still light. And that's a temptation that a quarterback that can throw it with the arm strength to the outside that he has. And the throw he made there, it actually hit Malcolm in the hands. Now, he had some vision. The guy was kind of in his vision, but it was a good throw. But I own that, not him. So I thought his decision-making was really good, other than the one carelessness with the ball.
There's Hugh Freeze's weekly press conference, highlighted by talking about both lines of scrimmage being controlled by the Auburn, 38-24, the final in that one. More takeaways from that. A lot of you asking, when is Kalen DeBoer's weekly press conference? Well, good news. If you want to hear from the Alabama coach, we will carry that live at the top of the hour, straight up noon. Kalen DeBoer live from Tuscaloosa. It's Reaction Monday. A lot of your reactions coming in. We'll try to get to as many as we can. Three-man front rolls on.
It is 11:54 at the top of the hour. We will head down to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and hear from Kalen DeBoer as he will meet with the media after Alabama's loss on Saturday to Florida State. Call Golston Tree Service for all your tree service needs, 205-337-4443. They're your trusted local experts in fast, affordable, professional tree removal, trimming, and cleanup. They're licensed, insured, ready to handle any job, big or small. Call Golston Tree Service today, 205-337-4443. Golston Tree Service also offers the 24-hour emergency tree service. That number again, put it in your phone, 205-337-4443.
Just got a tweet from Doug. He said, based on Alabama football with Kalen DeBoer, I guess we can accept Saturday wedding invitations in the fall. Yeah. Never really thought of it that way, but that's a good point, Doug. Go ahead. Go to those weddings. Based on what we saw Saturday, you're not missing anything but heartache. Kalen DeBoer, his press conference live from Tuscaloosa. We're going to have it right here on Three Man Front, this Reaction Monday.